What's up, everybody? Leland Steva here. Thank you for tuning in and listening. We're going to take a look at one of the careers of one of the most beloved members of the Minnesota Twins franchise, and that is Torii Hunter. When you think of those early 2000 Twins, that's kind of one of the first players who pops to your mind. All the diving catches, home runs, charisma, rah-rah leadership, all that kind of stuff. He's kind of one of the first players you think of. However, how he presented himself off the field to the fans and the media probably clouded a lot of people's minds about him, and he actually was a good player, but he wasn't as great as everybody remembers. Let's take a look at him at the plate first. Over his time with the Twins, over his career, which was a little more than 1,300 games, he compiled an OPS of 783. That's on base plus slugging. For all you out there who only keep track of batting average and RBIs, it's a good stat to look at someone to see how they are at the plate. That number, it's above average. It's pretty solid. However, it's the same OPS as Jason Kubel. It's only 1 point higher than John Jones. There's also a nice list of recent Twins who actually have better OPSs over their times as Twins than that, including Michael Kadire, Matt Lawton, Corey Koski, who I would argue is actually the best Twin during those early 2000 teams, Joe Mauer, of course, and even Marty Cordova. That's right. Marty Cordova has a better career OPS than Torii Hunter during their time as Minnesota Twins anyway. Now, Hunter, of course, was always argued as this amazing center fielder, which is true. He was really, really good in center field for a while. His last 2 years with the Twins, according to Fangraphs, he was actually a negative defender in center field, costing them, he was doing more harm than good in center field during that time as he lost a couple steps. Of course, we also remember the diving catch that he didn't make in 2006. I believe it was Mark Kotsay who hit that, ended up being an inside-the-park home run. An example of Hunter still thinking, I'm pretty good, but he actually lost a step or two, and that was a costly mistake that ended up costing the Twins that game and potentially the playoffs. Of course, there was also the argument of all these things that you can't measure, which includes, his leadership and his charisma and how he was able to rally the troops and everything. But if that's the case, the one thing you can kind of look at to maybe quantify that is if he was so much a leader and so loved everywhere, how come no team ever really tried to re-sign him? Like when his time was up with the Twins, they gave him a contract offer, but it was kind of a low-end one. But maybe there was a lot of arguments, the cheap Twins, but maybe they just didn't want him around, or they didn't want him around for this as much as he thought he was worth. So he left without too much of a fight from the Twins when he went to Los Angeles. When his time with the Angels was done, he went to Detroit. Didn't hear much about the Angels wanting to bring him back. When his time with Detroit was done, I didn't hear any kind of fight for them to try to bring him back. We need him back in our locker room, and he went right back to the Twins. Maybe just an example of maybe he wasn't as great of a leader as everybody said he was. The fact that they were like, if he leaves, not that big a deal. We'll move on without him. Maybe an example of, he wasn't as good as everyone thought he was on the field or in the locker room. But he has this big smile, and he was always friendly with everybody, so maybe everyone was always kind of like, that's a leader. That's who I want our team to have. But he really wasn't as great as everybody thinks he was. When you think of a great leader, I think of someone like Joe Mauer, who, of course, a lot of people criticize for not being a great leader. But I think Joe Mauer is a lot better player, and I think he's a lot better leader as well. Just my opinion. Well, thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in and all that fun stuff. Hit me up on Twitter, lsteva3, if you want to join the discussion. But until then, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks again.